I work in radio, so I just spend a lot of time listening to music.
Okay.
I do like creative producing on the side. So like right now I'm like developing a short story with my really good friend and creative partner Donyé. Shout out to her. Shout out K Skin. I'm gonna do a lot of shout outs.
Yeah.
I'll be shouting out my people. I love my friends. You should love your friends.
Exactly.
Anywho, we are developing a short story for a short film we want to make. When I'm like creating things, like I feel just like free, but also like there's a lot of pressure like internally and externally, but I don't really feel like I'm doing work. Like I feel like I'm like exploring my life and the way I see life, and just like it feels very philosophical.
Hello and welcome back, guys, to Let's Chat with Carter. My name is Noa Carter. I am here with...
Oh, my name's Donyé. Well, I'm from East Oakland, and I found my way here very like indirectly. I started off in Oregon studying God knows what. Honestly, just severely depressed. And then I found my way to San Diego, and I was living there for 2 years. I went to community college there. I was studying like global studies, which is like poli-sci, sociology, anthropology, Spanish. That's how I got to Spain, and then I started doing photography when I was abroad, and I got back to like San Diego. And I was with my friends, and we were just like out or whatever. One of my friends go to USC. It's actually your shirt. It's Valley Girls. Kaylee, I love you. So she was at USC at the time, and she was like, you should go to film school, because we were talking about like some TV show. She was like, you sound like a classmate that I would like be at school with.
Yeah.
I was like, okay. And I just went to film school, and it was like, I had no like map. I just wanted to get to UCLA. That was like it.
Really?
Yeah, because mind you, at this time, I'm like, when I was in high school, like my senior year, I got hit with so much depression. Like I started experiencing depression very, like I remember like sitting in an environment like this with friends, and it was just like something clicked off for me, and I was just like, I'm so like unhappy.
Really?
Yeah, like it was like, it wasn't even like I recall the exact time and day when it happened. And that was kind of like how I was living for like 3 years. So when I was like in San Diego, I had like my roommates, and like, but going to community college is like hard to kind of make friends. Or at least for me, it was hard to make friends. I'm not really the type, I can be very like independent, and like I've gotten better at it, but like for me to like go out of my like shell or bubble to like talk to people just because I'm like trying to make friends, like I'm not gonna do that.
Yeah.
I'm so sorry. I'm here for school. I'm doing my school, and like at the community college, a lot of people are like, people got kids.
Yeah.
Other people are like 19, talking about James Charles, wearing James Charles brand. No shade, but like, I'm not your sister. Like, no. So it was like hard for me to be in that space and try to make friends. So I was honestly just like writing poetry. I would go write poems. I would go like explore San Diego.
That's good to know, because I just started going to San Diego. Well, I was born in San Diego, but I think I started venturing out again. Like I went out for my 19th birthday as well as my 23rd birthday, and that's when I really started to explore San Diego. I like it. Yeah, I think it could use yeah.
Yeah.
I like the area. But I enjoy like the nature aspect of San Diego and all, like, you know.
You said you were born there?
Yeah.
And then where did you
end up afterwards? So basically I was born in San Diego, and I think, why did we move? We moved because my mom had like a job opportunity, I think in where, it wasn't in Paris, California yet. It was like somewhere, we moved to the IE basically. That's where I like ended up throughout. Then my mom got married, moved to Corona, then like went to Fontana after that.
Hey, that's where I used to be.
Yeah. Oh really?
Yeah.
Wow, so you've been all over. That's very interesting.
Well, like when I was like 5,
my
like grandparents had a house in Fontana.
Oh, okay.
So that's where I like spend my summers.
Oh yeah,
in
it's completely different now.
It's completely different.
Yeah.
And it's like, it didn't even feel like LA. Like it doesn't feel like LA at all. It feels like Fontana.
Yeah, no. LA and Fontana, like the IE in general versus LA is very different.
Yeah.
Even places in LA are very different from each other, literally if you walk down the block.
Man,
So yeah,
that's true.
yeah. So yeah, but that was a little bit about me. But regarding like, I guess more into your background,
Yeah.
with because what would you say you are at now? What would you like categorize and what are you pursuing currently?
Right now, I work in radio,
Mm.
so I just spend a lot of time listening to music. I do like creative producing on the side. So like right now, I'm like developing a short story with my really good friend and creative partner, Donyé. Shout out to her. Shout out K Skin. I'm gonna do a lot of shout outs.
Yeah.
I'll be shouting out my people. I love my friends. You should love your friends.
Exactly.
Anywho, we are developing a short story for a short film we want to make. When I'm like creating things, like I feel just like free, but also like there's a lot of pressure like internally and externally, but I don't really feel like I'm doing work. Like I feel like I'm like exploring my life and the way I see life, and just like it feels very philosophical. So like I like making images, I like making videos, I like doing like collage pieces that kind of like question the state of things.
And is that for radio, for like that, or is that just your own thing?
That's me.
Okay.
That's my identity.
Okay.
For radio, I honestly got that job through my
Your friend.
no, I got that job through my ex.
Oh.
And his mom.
Oh.
So it's kind of triggering showing up every day, but
Oh, are they still present there, or
who? No, they
Oh, okay.
never worked there.
Oh, okay.
But
okay.
like, it's just like a memory. Like,
Yeah, I get you.
know?
I get you. So with that, like obviously that's your like, it pays the bills, but like of what you want to do, like
yeah. So, what I want to do.
Yeah.
Like every day. I think
Yeah.
I want to. I recently like wrote down my 5-year plan. So like I
Okay,
want
yeah.
to work at a gallery, being a gallerist, like doing like art brokerage and like just kind of like using space to uplift and like promote art, because I think art is just like so important. And I want to have like a short film already, like in 5 years, like have my short film, my first one done, and then be in production for my feature film. That would be like my debut. Like I wrote it, I directed it, I like produced it very little,
Yeah.
and like hired producing partners. That's like my thing.
So what exactly, to make sure I get knowledge of like the difference between a short film and like a major
feature?
film, like what would you categorize as a short film?
A short film is going to be different, one in length, and then in terms of the screenplay. Like the
Okay.
screenplay is going to be significantly shorter. It's going to be significantly less acts. A whole feature film, and then just budget.
Yeah.
Everything else is a budget.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, it still takes like, it really depends. Like, when I shot my short, it's like, it's kind of long for like a short, because
Yeah.
it's 16 minutes.
Okay.
But our budget was, there's like micro, low, medium, high Hollywood. Our shit was like under micro. Like it was like $1,200. That's like nothing.
Yeah.
But if you like are getting paid like $1,200, that's like, okay, like I can pay my bills.
Exactly.
For movies, that shit is nothing. It takes
Yeah.
so much to make a movie.
Yeah.
That's why,
Was that through your program or something, or something like?
Well, I was at Long Beach, and
Okay.
I had the opportunity to take, or I had the choice to take like production management type of like elective, or do like independent study. And I found out the last day we had to like enroll in classes, so I went out, I shot like an email to my professor, like I just want to do like an independent study and I just want to make a film. And they were like, well, what's your film about? They said, what's your film about? Does it have guns? Does it involve kids? And I said, no. And I shot her the log line, and she was like, okay, I'll do it.
Yeah.
And then I just like full-fledged sent it.
Yeah, there you go. That's a move. So like, what got you into that? What got you into like film and producing?
I just like, it's funny, like I just kind of started doing it. Like I didn't really like plan on being a filmmaker. I mean, when I look back on it, like I used to, in Fontana, just sit in my, I come from a huge family. My grandparents had like 16, 17 kids.
Oh.
Like too many kids. My grandfather was a deacon. I felt that on my spirit. My grandfather was a deacon, so I would just sit in his like office with him, and he would just watch like old black and white cinema, and it was just like so romantic. Like I think movies really romanticize life, and I think it's just like fun to like, you know, when you like, what do you do?
What do you mean?
Like, what do you do for work?
Oh, I do digital marketing. Yeah.
How's that?
So that pays. I mean, it pays what it pays. But personally, I feel like I'm not at exactly the stage I want to be at.
Yeah.
Of what I want to be at, I think it'll be like great. But right now, it's just giving content creation and things of that nature, and like helping other people out until I start my own thing.
Yeah.
Then I feel like I'll be where I want to be.
Your own thing, like your
My own agency and my own like being able to, because right now I take on clients.
Yeah.
And it's basically to help them with what they're doing.
Yeah.
But I think I want to have something to like go into my own vision and imagery on like being able to, I guess, just create an agency for myself. Yeah.
Like you want, oh, cool.
Mm-hmm.
So like, who do you mostly work with right now?
So as of right now, I've worked with like small startup companies who need like content creation for like podcasts, as well as like, I would say, a lot more. I haven't worked in tech yet, but I've done like things for like cosmetic brands, as well as like just a lot of influencer. Right now I'm doing a lot of influencer and brand work. Yeah. And don't even know how I got into that, but yeah. That happened. I swear, with that field, you can just land into anything. It's ridiculous.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, so imagine like coming home after doing that all day, and you pop on a show or a movie. It's like, I don't know, it's just like fucking bliss. Like you can like escape the reality of that. So that's why I appreciate entertainment so much, and that's why I think representation in entertainment is so important. And that's why I think we need to pay these goddamn writers.
So on that topic, with representation in film,
Right.
we can get into like, what do you think? Well, obviously the representation isn't, I mean, I think it's getting better now, but over the years, obviously there's been a lack of representation. Do you feel like we're making good strides currently?
I say yes, but that's also very like relative. Cause compared to what, like them being in blackface, you know what I'm saying? Compared to like the 2000s where it was still like white stories, but it was like black people. Like I think the best, and like, I mean, cause I'm black, so it's hard for me to like talk about, I guess, Latino representation or even indigenous representation. Although I've seen a lot more indigenous representation, I would say, from my perspective. So that's been nice to see. Like Blue Beetle, that's completely different. But Blue Beetle was the first like Latino lead in for a DC film. And so when you hear shit like that, it's kind of like yay, but also like, what do you mean? Like, why does it take decades to literally be like, oh, we're gonna put a Latino in this movie? The character's Latino, of course. You know what I'm saying? But they could have whitewashed the movie easily, and it would have been like, no, I'm not gonna say no one would have had a problem with it. It would have been like some articles and some questions, and then it would have been a PR statement, and the movie would have gotten its money, like with the shit with Little Mermaid. That'd be the problem. You can make a leap to include people and to have diversity in your content, and the people who have to pay, or that you want the audience to pay to come see the movie, will be like, why is this black being the white mermaid that we have grown up with? What is the anger? Like, what is the hostility? You know what I'm saying? It's something like in our society that is so ingrained to seeing white faces and white characters lead fantasy stories or like lead any type of ensemble cast, or just anything that's supposed to be receiving this high budget and high acclaim is dominated by like whiteness, and it boggles my mind.
I think I kind of get why, obviously, with power and like who controls the media and all that type of stuff. So that's where I think I would like to get more into, like, cause I think as we're seeing people of color starting getting into certain positions in like movie roles or like being in the behind the scenes
Yeah.
work, I think I start to see different films taking place.
Yeah.
As well as like obviously because with certain filmmakers, if they're like specifically white or if they're like a person who's outside of that race trying to tell the story, it really doesn't work.
Right.
But I think what we see a lot more is like the conversation of hiring people of that background
Yeah.
to help produce the movie to make sure like representation is actually key. So I think we're working through different things. I don't necessarily, it's hard to tell someone who doesn't understand or has any connection to that background what they're doing wrong, because I don't think they can Truly understand or grasp what is lacking because they never have lacked it in a way.
Yeah.
So I think we're getting into that conversation and ground, but as you said, it's taken longer than it's needed to, but I guess it is what it is.
I mean, it is what it is, but it's also very, it's just so bleak. Like, it's just like, I'm so tired of the first, like, this is the first. It's just like, God, like I was the first Black, queer, I'm bisexual. I was the first Black, queer, Black bisexual person to make a short film at my school. I didn't even know that. My teacher told me that. I wasn't even there. Like, we had our screening for the short films, and mine was screened, and I didn't go. I think I have work, and I also didn't want to go. Sorry. I sent my producer to go, and she had to like speak or whatever. And our professor was like, Donyé is the first Black queer person at this school to produce and direct a film in this program. I was gagged. I go to Long Beach State. Long Beach.
I'm not really familiar with Long Beach. What's the demographics?
There's hella Black people.
Okay, yeah.
But also, like, it's just like, what do you mean? Like, what do you mean? This program is supposed to be for, like, like, we're in California. Like, I don't know. It just confuses me, like, that I would be the first Black queer person to make a film in a program that's been around since before Steven Spielberg. How?
It's just
but we have to like celebrate that.
Yeah.
And I'm getting tired of celebrating like crumbs.
Yeah, I get what you mean.
It's hard.
It kind of is what it is. It is crazy. Like, a lot of people don't think about it. Like, I think to be, like, from your perspective, to be a Black person, a Black bisexual man in this world, to not even have realized that, having to be told that. And, like, you have to think about the people who don't even fall in that category, not even realizing it. I don't think a lot of people think about things until it's, like, in their face, you know what I'm saying? So I think that's part of the process. And I think with entertainment is that we are having these conversations, but we're just having the conversation. Well, we're not even having the conversation sometimes. Like, I think people are just like, you're told it and people don't really grasp it, and they're like, you know, you're just kind of complaining or whatever, rather than actually finding, like, trying to understand the problem or the take that someone's having and addressing that and furthering, you know, progressiveness or whatnot. But yeah, that's what I do find in film. I don't know if that's what do you find that in short films too? Like the short film stories?
What?
Like, because obviously short film versus like big blockbuster movie, that's a whole different level. We rarely see that in blockbusters. But I think what we're seeing right now is like in like short films as well as like other projects with other studios. Like, for example, I think HBO Max and Amazon are big, I don't know what they would be considered, but big networks that produce films that are not what we're used to seeing. Like, I know Netflix, like, until Netflix started producing a lot of like European films as well as like just other country films, I think a lot of like Americans were introduced to other countries doing films and seeing the difference in society. Yeah.
Americans had to read subtitles and lost
Exactly. Like, I think Netflix was the first, or that I saw doing that, and I think a lot more people have like got on that train or bandwagon. But I think that in itself has introduced us to a whole different thing, where I think other films are doing that. For HBO, I've seen more representation, like Black representation. I don't know if you heard of like Tubi, I think it's called Tubi. Is it Tubi?
It is. I'm
Yeah.
just laughing at the that I've seen from that
Yeah,
streaming platform.
exactly. It has its problems as well, but like it has the most black representation I've seen, like in movies or whatnot. I don't think it's like the proper representation.
No.
Exactly. I don't think it's the proper representation, but you know, it's somewhere. But in that space, I definitely recognize that. How do you feel with that?
I think that's a really good point. I mean, you definitely do see a lot more color in that landscape when it's on a streaming service, because they can be like, well, we need to diversify our portfolio. Like, we can't have like 6 different shows that remind you of Friends. We're not going to make no money. Like, we need to have maybe 3 to 4 shows that remind you of Friends, and 2 to 5 shows that remind you of Insecure. And then like, what I'm seeing now though on a lot of streaming services is putting short films on there, like to go back to your earlier question. So that's great for like independent filmmakers that need to get their work seen. It's very hard to get your movie bought and sold and distributed, and that's why it's good that streaming services cater to short filmmakers and like put their work on their site, like Hulu does, HBO does. I've seen horrible movies on Amazon Prime, but at least they're there, you know what I'm saying? Like, at least they have something. So yeah, like I'm seeing a lot more color, but like it's hard to address. Okay, yay! Oh my God, this conversation is gonna take a toll on me. It's just hard to address. Like, yay, we have the representation, but now y'all are talking about putting people in boxes to digitize them, to make them like into this forever omnipresent background character that you don't have to pay. You just got to pay them once as an AI.
What exactly? Are you talking about like having actors like present because of AI?
Yeah. They're like
okay.
literally doing that. That's what they're crafting. But also just like residuals, like on
That's
streaming.
the big thing right
yeah,
now.
I know,
It's
like
like
that's a big
money,
thing.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just like, okay, cool. We have everyone on the race card when we fill out our W-2. We have everyone in the category on the screen. Great. Why is the pay scale so like disproportioned? And then we get into equity, and it's so inequitable. Entertainment is so inequitable. I feel like a lot of our discussion has been about on-screen representation. Let me tell you something. When you're working a set, have you worked a lot of sets?
I've only been like on YouTube sets, if anything.
Oh, like shows?
Yeah, like YouTube shorts or whatever. Like, you know, like one, I was on Jubilee and everything as
Jubilee.
Have you heard of Jubilee?
Yeah.
Jubilee, yeah. So basically, like things like that. I would say the behind the scenes.
And how was that?
That there was not one black person.
See?
That was on behind the set. So like
Yeah.
that stuff I do notice.
But you're showing up to work.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, is there work, like in your office? Is there like, what's your office space like?
I work remote. So yeah.
Oh, shit.
Yeah, I do remote. So with that, I would say, but who I do work with, like when I do like contracts and everything, same thing. It's like I never see, what I tell everyone is this thing, if I see anyone who looks like me, it is usually a black woman who is like lighter skin toned and everything. It's usually the same thing. It's like I never see someone of my complexion or like just a male, like a black man doing what I want to do. Which kind of gets me into more so why I want to do it even more is to like serve as that person, to like help with representation. But yeah, that is something I do notice. And I think a lot of other people don't notice because if they don't fall in that, they're not going to really pay attention to it.
True. That's such a good point. And I think it's hard to like show up to a space like that and not really see anyone that looks like you and then be like, should I continue to be in this space? Like, as much as people want to rah, like, it's so easy, like, just be you, or like, whatever, like, who cares about that? No, that is such, I think that's such cap. When you show up to a space and you don't see no one that looks like you, bro, like, not even remotely similar, it is so alienating. Like, you literally feel like an other. And, like, the way you,
It also depends on, because I think with my background, I'm used to it. Sadly, I am, because I grew up around like non-black individuals, or like I grew up, but like I'm used to like being a diverse background and being in certain spaces. You would get that I would have my black people in like certain spaces like BSU or whatever and doing things like that. But in other spaces, like in more academically, like in academic spaces or like with like certain, I would say, people who categorize as white sports or like, you know, of that nature, I found myself being the other. And that got me comfortable with it. Do I think that's okay? No, because I think people need to stop being in a box. I think people need to try different things. But
same. Like I went to a public, sorry.
You're good.
That was a lie. I went to a private high school. So like, and it was number 2 in the country for diversity. So I don't want it to like, I show up to a space and everyone's black. Like it looks like a set of The Wiz. That'd be amazing, right? But that's not really like the goal. I just don't want everyone to be male and Caucasian. That would be nice.
Yeah, that's definitely the thing. And I think that's more so on just like diversity in the place, because I think a lot of people say, oh, we have diversity. But do you? Like, do you actually have diversity? Like, I think diversity for others is different than diversity for most black people. Because I think you feel othered in ways that other people don't feel othered. Like, like even though if I talk to my friends, like if they're Latino and they're in a like predominantly white space, you're othered because like obviously your culture and everything. And especially when I talk to like lighter skinned Latinos, yes, you are othered. You don't come from the same culture or background, and they don't have like this like certain commonalities to you. But at the same time, you somewhat can blend in. Versus me being like dark skinned and black skinned in a space like that, it's on top of not being culturally there with them, but as well as like looking different than them. So there's just other different kind of conversations you can have with that.
Have you ever felt othered by other black people?
Oh, of course.
Right?
I'm like, of course, being myself.
Well,
I literally, in my last, if you watched it, I did a podcast episode on being, it was called African versus African American. And with that, not only did we have differences, like obviously in culture, but me personally, I noticed that I found a lot of commonality with a lot of Africans because they were othered in terms of being black because of, you know, where they come from. And you know the whole thing on like, I guess the anti-African like thing.
I don't.
Really?
That is far away from my space.
Do
not come with me. I've talked about anti-African or like black people do this, like Africans do this. Boo. Okay, great. First of all, why are you talking about you're talking about a continent, love. Where are you from in Africa? You know what I'm saying? That should be driving me insane. Like I'm black and I've lived in Cali my entire life. I'm gonna be much different from someone who's black and they've grown up in
the East Coast in
the
general
East Coast.
Too, like everywhere, everyone, depending, even if like in Los Angeles, if you're a black person from Malibu compared to a black person in Long Beach, you're gonna be completely different, or Los Feliz or whatever. So it's just like, I think we need to celebrate people's differences rather than like just divide and be like, oh, that's not for me.
People love dividing though. It's so easy. I guess.
I think it's easier than finding commonality in your differences. Like, I think that takes work. And
or being like, we're different. Nice. Let's talk about that.
And I think that's the whole point in film, getting back on like the discussion. But like, in film, I feel like people don't celebrate diversity in the way that, because I know my mind is different than other people. I love to see like, what was the movie that really like struck me that had nothing to do with me personally, but like was just a great win? Like just certain films, like when I think of, what was that one film, that Marvel girl, Miss Marvel, like characters like that, like
when she was like Pakistani.
And like just like all different films. Like when I see something that I usually don't see, I'm like, wow, because it's noticeable. You see, it's like a change. It's different.
It's
like
rich.
This one film I'm actually currently on is called The Wheel of Time. I've been recently watching that to see, it's a show. I'm literally just like word of mouthing it to everyone right now because it's a show where the diversity is strong. Like the majority is not white. When I first watching it, I got into it just by like, you know, I needed something to watch because we're in a drought. We're getting to the drought point of it. And basically, I started watching it, was like, okay, cool. And then I started picking up, I'm like, oh, wow, there's a lot of POC leads. Like, this is just not very familiar, especially in a show that's really popular in Amazon. Usually it's like a niche group, whatever, but it's a show that is relatively popular. I wouldn't say like the mainstream, like everyone's watching it, but it definitely does have, it's like #1.
It's like fantasy?
It's #1 on Amazon. So I started watching it. And I started realizing the people, and I started investing, and I'm like, okay, I want to see who's behind the cameras.
Yeah.
And I guessed it. I was like, it's gonna be some light-skinned black chick, you know, that is. I literally guessed her to a T. I was like, yep. I knew it was a black woman, like because, yeah, I feel like when I see certain stories and how it's depicted and how well crafted it is, I know it's like usually a woman. And 2, depending on how many POC it is, I know it's a black woman.
She's the showrunner. What's her name?
I don't know. Yeah, I'm
you
so
gotta
bad
figure out
at
her
that.
name.
I'm so bad at that. I'm terrible.
No, but I
with
feel you.
names, but-
One of my favorite films. It's called Losing Ground. It's by a black woman. Her name is Kathleen Collins. She's only made I think 3 movies. I think 1 short, 1 other feature, and then Losing Ground was like her 2nd feature, I believe. I think the first one might have even been like a doc. I think this might have been her debut. I'm not totally sure, but she made that 1 movie, and then I think she passed away not too long ago. Not too long after that from like cancer, and when I tell you in terms of like filmmaking skill, that is one of the best movies I have ever seen in my entire life. And she's like and it's a black woman. That would be a filmmaker I would never learn about in school, ever, in school. And she's like she's writing a movie about a philosopher who's like a black philosophy teacher, and like it's just like it's just like such a rich story. So I understand exactly what you mean, just about like how when I think most of the movies that like I enjoy really like as a whole would probably be made by a woman.
No, yeah, because they have a conversation. I think there's a lot of things with that, but I think on the broader scale, it definitely recognizes that we are different by society and how we grow up. So with that, with film and media, I think it's a big power to that really shapes the world that we see today.
Yeah.
So in that, how do you feel about social culture, if anything?
Oh, and like its relation to film?
Yeah.
Oh, well, I just think it's kind of at the crux of it. I mean, we have music. I think music is if not the heart of social pop culture, it's one of its biggest things. But I think it really also just depends on what you digest. If you watch, in terms of society and societal culture, if you watch things that are current or hip or the new top trending stuff, you're gonna be seeing a lot of the same themes and same actors and same people, which is why it's really important for us as viewers to seek out stuff that has subtitles, or that's by a filmmaker you don't know, or a show that is literally I already said this, but a completely different language, or even watching a random short film, I think it's really easy to fall into the same trap of, okay, this huge billboard on Sunset, oh, I'm gonna look at that. And it's just that is the thing about society. We're very slow. We don't really like change. It can be very jarring to erect change in a whole, in a society's, culture. Just because it's even me, I remember I turned 24, right? As an example of culture. I turned 24 and I was at work and my boss was like, oh, how old are you? And I was like, oh, I'm 24. He was like, oh, he said something basically do you feel different, or how do you feel? Basically we ended up on the conversation between being 21 and being 24. And that's what my coworker was like, oh, he turned 21 today. he doesn't have to like worry about a fake or some shit like that. And I was like, no, I'm 24. And then my supervisor was like, oh, that's not like that much of a difference to us because we're like 48. And I'm like, well, it's a huge difference. Like I'm 21. When I was 21, what I was around, what I was doing, who I was emotionally was completely different from where I am, and I'm 24. And they're like boomers. So they're just kind of like, no.
Yeah.
Like, no, it's not different.
So what was the conversation even about? Like, what was it regarding? Basically, like, ageism?
Basically, kind of being like, we are older, therefore we know that when you're 24 and when you're 21, you are basically the same. And me being the person who had just experienced that, I'm like, no, that's not true.
Each year, you're completely different.
So imagine those people sitting down at a table in a room, writing content about us.
Exactly.
Saying who we are when we're 21 versus when we're 24, and being like, they aren't different.
And that's the reason why we see like a lot of shows like from off the grip, like of shows that I watched when I was growing up. It's like Teen Wolf, a lot of Vampire Diaries. A lot of people watch those type of shows.
That's my shit though.
Huh?
That's my shit.
Oh. yeah, like that was great. But at the same time, it has its issues because, like, we viewed that as, like, high schoolers. We were like, oh, my God, that's going to be us. Or, well, I was watching it before high school. But, like, watching it, that's going to be me in high school. But those aren't how high schoolers look. And I think that's, like, they've gotten better at it, like, now. But during our age, there's not going back to that. We already, like, have that ingrained in us during that process of life. And seeing that, like, that's all about representation.
Right.
Like, importantly, like, because the issues that they had weren't issues that were realistic to like teenagers, especially in this day and age.
I still have not dated someone who was a vampire. You know what I'm saying? Like,
bye. Yeah, I'm like bye.
I'm searching. They're just not here. So it's kind of like I used to watch a lot of Degrassi when I was like in like the 7th grade. That's way too young. Like I seen stabbed. I seen someone get gay bashed. Get called like. Only time I've like heard anyone get called has been by someone who's gay, and it was a joke. So like I'm seeing all this shit. Like you were saying, like I get to high school, I'm like, no one's pregnant. There's no fun parties. There's parties, but like fun is relative, like but also I'm going to like a private high school, but
that's why I'm like, there was pregnant people in my high school, babe. So I'm like, go to a public one. There's pregnant people, yeah. So it's just different on experiences.
It's a different scale. Jesus Christ.
That's why I heard you was like,
you were like,
that's not far.
Well, I had a different experience, but that's so important. Like. My experience going to a private high school is like
completely different than a public school.
No one's pregnant, but like are like
doing other things,
dealing with drug addiction.
Yeah, that's when I did private during college, so that's when I experienced that. I was like, oh, y'all are different.
Different.
Yeah.
The tax bracket is different, therefore the like delinquency is different.
The problems are different. The environment is just completely different. But that's why we have representation. Having public school representation, private school, have it all.
Yeah, but as far as like society and culture, I think I don't know, it's so hard. Honestly, it's so hard to just like generalize it as one thing. Like it really like breaks down into different factions of being, and it's kind of a struggle really to see it as a whole, because it's kind of like as a whole, like we live in a cis white male dominated society. There's a lot of misogyny, a lot of patriarchy. I seen a clip, I don't know if you've seen this, a clip about a woman getting hit in the head with a brick because a man asked her for her number or some shit.
But I think that's just like, I don't even think that has anything to do with like white people in general. I feel like that's just like the cis male energy. Like what I find the problem with like a lot of straight cis males in general. Yeah. Like the culture behind that and like the disconnect from like femininity and that gets into a whole different thing. But yeah, there's a lot of problems, but like as everything worth having in life and correcting, it's gonna be difficult. And
Yeah.
we have to start with
I
having a
mean,
conversation.
I don't think it's that far off from like white male was like hegemony, just because like I don't know what it is about being male and having to be like this hardened kind of character of a person with no feelings or no emotions and just like all ego driven, but it happens like a lot. And I don't think I think it's so far removed from like your race or anything like that. Like it just is like ingrained in you. It's very much so taught, even by other like women teaching men to be like that. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah.
I've been told to stop being so sensitive many times.
Wow, I've never been told that, but I can believe it, obviously,
Many
based
times.
on society, yeah. By other black men or by just men in general
Women.
or women? Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Stop being so sensitive. Stop
Well, that's
crying.
an important conversation because, yeah, that is a thing, like, especially when I see, more so on TikTok, about, like, women bashing men for, like, doing things that are, like, really feminine nowadays. Yeah, it's a...
Like calling sassy, being like,
Oh, yeah, that is a thing now.
being like,
I
why didn't you text
forget.
me back? I miss you. This man's so sassy. What? Baby girl, he's trying. How do you? But he's.
Wow.
Where do we go? Where do we go from
it's
here?
Very interesting. I feel like there's always going to be an issue, or disconnect. But yeah, this day and age, I feel like it's gotten worse. But lastly, I would say, well, two things. But would you, like, what would be great examples, if any, that you have, like, of films or media in general that has great representation that you've seen or that you're on right now?
That is a great question.
Yeah, put on the audience.
Audience, everyone should watch Sex Education. I think that's a great show as far as diversity. We are in the UK, and like out, like it looks like this. It's a lot of fields.
Which I
It's
love.
very country, English countryside. But like the discussions about your body and like sex. I mean, some of it, they are in high school. Some parts of it is a little like because it also is like British humor, so it could be like very stale. And the styling can be difficult. But I think in terms of like the way, like when I was watching that show, especially like the first couple seasons, a lot of like just how they were like in the script breaking down feelings and like especially feelings about your body and like your relationship to your body and relationship to your partner. I think that's amazing work. The cast is diverse, even if it's not diverse in like no, I would say it's pretty diverse, even though like you could always do better, honestly. But the subject matter is diverse. Who gets to be what is diverse. Who gets to be the sexy romantic lead. You have more than just like who you usually see. So I think that's a great show. I would love to work on that show immediately, expeditiously. That's what I'm watching right now, just because they dropped a new season. I'm kind of like.
Really? They dropped a new season? Oh wow.
Yep. Everyone should watch Losing Ground by Kathleen Collins. Kathleen Collins, Losing Ground. Watch it. I don't know what he said. Like, that movie was amazing. I found that movie, I think, like, by accident. I don't know. And then, I'm trying to think of another show.
I still want to, you're going to have to watch Wheel of Time. I want to hear your feedback
Wheel
on
of Time?
that.
Yeah, I'll check it out. Because I'm not really watching anything, I think that's why I'm struggling. I'm not really watching anything that's new right now. I'm watching a lot of like I was watching like Sex and the City.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Because I like the character. I like the character of Carrie. I don't like Carrie's decision. Have you seen it?
Yeah.
It'd be so hard watching white women exist in New York.
Yeah.
Especially because they're always on the upper like west side or like lower east side. Like they never leave that sector of the city. And then I'm just like rewatching Insecure. Like crack. I love Insecure. I think a show that is really good that could probably be better in diversity though is The Other Two on HBO Max. Though it's a really funny comedy. It's very absurdist. They tackle a lot of like issues though, and like especially like the white gay community tackles. They like rip that shit to shreds, and just like it's very interesting. It's a very interesting take on like celebrity and having celebrity. Because honestly, in my opinion, sorry, not to like push this further, but celebrity is something you obtain. I think that's something, going back to our society and culture, that I would like to see change is like not seeing people who have celebrity as just celebrities, because I feel like demystifying that will allow us to stop putting them on this fucking pedestal and making them the hallmark of humanity. It's like, why?
Yeah, celebrity culture is very interesting to me. I've always talked about it. I've talked about it on TikTok, as was like, I talked about it throughout, even the podcast. Well, I haven't really dived into it really on the podcast, but I would love to dive into that more. But do you have anything like, what's your socials? How do we keep in contact with you? Any promotions? What's happening?
Yeah, sure. You can follow me at don.net on Instagram. I'm not giving out my Twitter. Follow me, stay tuned to see the photo story I'm developing and the short film that will soon be coming out. I'm always dropping content. I'm always dropping new photos and videos I'm working on. I just got a new client, so I'll have some new images that I'm excited to debut. And yeah, I don't know. Just
that's the worst. I love that.
And donate to Black Image Center. Donate to Black Image Center.
Oh, I love a good shout out. Well, as always, y'all know y'all can find me on Instagram, on TikTok, and YouTube, because at the time of this episode, I have a YouTube now. Apparently. Yeah. Apparently. So yeah, y'all can catch me on YouTube and all things good. Just completely still working on it, as if you've been here since the beginning, you've seen the progress and we're doing our thing. But as always, y'all, stay purposely you. Bye.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That's so nice.